So getting that FPV experience with the DJI Neo just got that little bit cheaper thanks to these, the new Goggles N3 from DJI. Half the price, are they half as good? Let's take a little look. Hello, I'm Ian and I play with drones, and these are the new DJI Goggles N3 that I was using there, and I really do think they're a brilliant new addition to the DJI lineup, because when the Neo was launched a couple of months ago, it was very well received as a pretty brilliant entry-level FPV drone at a pretty amazing low price. And there's no doubt it's been a big hit both with beginners and more experienced drone pilots, many of whom are used to flying more conventional camera drones like the Mini 4s or the Air 3 or the Mavic 3s and the like, but who wanted an easy branch into the fun of FPV flying. But whilst the Neo was the perfect drone to make that branch into FPV, getting a set of goggles to fly the Neo with was not an easy job, not least of the fact because the Goggles 3 cost around 3 times the price of the Neo itself. So DJI have brought these out, DJI Goggles N3, full set of FPV goggles giving the full all-immersive FPV experience, but at a way cheaper price. And whilst the Goggles N3 will work with both the Neo and the Avata 2, I'm guessing that most people buying these are going to be Neo owners, as I don't think many people would have bought an Avata 2 without a set of goggles to fly them with. And crucially, DJI seem to have listened to us, because not only are these N3 goggles impressive, they're also available to buy as a standalone for those of us who've already got the Neo but without any goggles. And of course, you can also buy them as part of this complete Fly More combo package that you see here, where you get the Neo drone, 3 batteries on the charging hub, the motion controller 3, and crucially the Goggles N3 as well. I have to say the price is fairly surprising in my opinion, way lower than I expected, which is definitely not a term you hear me say that often when I'm reviewing these things. The goggles by themselves are just £229. And the full Fly More combo that you're seeing here is a blistering £449, which I think is actually pretty crazy. That means you're getting the full package, goggles, drone, 3 batteries, motion controller, all for less than the standalone price for the Goggles 3. They were £579. Now look, I will be honest though, I was a little bit sceptical of things before I got to try them out. I have tried budget FPV goggles before, and frankly, they have been painful. Poor fit, poor screen, poor latency. So how did I find the new DJI Goggles N3? Well, I have to say, surprisingly good. In fact, more than good to me. They were absolutely brilliant. You can see here having good fun at the Arboretum at Newbury Farm Plants in Silsoe, Bedfordshire, flying the Neo at sunset. Everything about the Goggles N3 just worked, and they genuinely were fine and perfect for flying. No latency, just pretty much poor flying on my part, to be honest, most of the time. Oh, there we go. Oh, he's a tough little thing, isn't he? No, don't. Stop, 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 stop. And when you take a closer look at the N3 goggles, you kind of realise what DJI have done is to strip down the Goggles N3 to give you the basics of what you need for FPV flying, but crucially made sure that what features they did keep work well or are actually the same as the Goggles 3, whilst leaving out some of the more nice to have features that obviously are nice to have, but ultimately just jack the price up a bit as well. So let's take a decent look at what you get. First thing you can notice, of course, is that they are larger than the Goggles 3. Quite a bit larger. The actual hard shell, if you like, is 5 centimetres deeper. But of course, one big difference on the original Goggles 3, you've got this very soft, flat rubber, whereas you have this new big foam face covering that is incredibly comfortable, but obviously increases the depth of the goggles as well. You've got the same embedded battery pack into the strap, which is obviously brilliant. Means when it's on the back of your head, you can dial the wheel, and it will lengthen or shorten the strap. The weight is a little bit more, 60 grams, so about 2 ounces heavier. But to be honest, once they're on your head, they literally felt exactly the same as the original Goggles 3. Certainly no difference in weight, and you certainly don't get any feeling of them being slightly larger. There are 3 key things about any set of FPV goggles. You've got the comfort or the fit, you've got the screen itself, and the latency of that screen, i.e. how fast does that screen reflect what's actually happening to the drone. Now, if any of those 3 things go wrong, then you're not going to be a happy bunny. So for me, these were absolutely fine with regards to comfort. As I said, having the battery incorporated around the back, no dangling wires. The foam surround that you see here, absolutely comfortable, a nice simple fit on the face. Adjustable strap, as I said, make sure it's a nice comfortable fit. And there's even a little defogger fan built in if things get a bit steamy inside on a hot day. Looking at the screen is different though. Instead of 2 separate small lenses that are adjustable with the focus, and you can adjust the distance between the 2, on the Goggles N3 it's got 2 much larger lenses housed in a single large viewing mask. So there's no need for any adjustment or focusing or any adjustment, as I said, of the space between your eyes. The padding of the mask is large enough to go over any glasses if you wear glasses. So the bottom line is, as soon as you put the goggles on, you get a crystal clear, instant perfect view without any adjustments. So they fit fine, they're absolutely comfortable to wear. What about that screen? Well, the screen is slightly different. On the Goggles 3, there's actually a tiny 1/2-inch little screen embedded in them, whereas the N3 goggles have a much larger 3.5-inch screen, which is why the lens system is so different. But what you end up seeing look pretty much identical to me as the Goggles 3. The N3 screen has got the same high definition resolution, 1080p resolution, same video bitrate, up to 60 megabits per second for the Avata 2 and 50 megabits per second for the Neo. And the latency was the 3rd thing I mentioned, and thankfully it is not bad either. The specs state it's around 31 to 58 milliseconds for the Avata 2 and the Neo respectively, whereas for the Goggles 3, the latency is 21 to 40 milliseconds for each of the same models respectively. So that is about 10 milliseconds slower, which to me, absolutely nothing to worry about at all. So certainly as far as I was concerned, comfort, screen, latency, all very impressive and pretty similar to the Goggles 3, which really was, I thought, a brilliant surprise. So what next? Right, yes. What is actually different? There are some fundamental differences, and this is probably where the price drop has come in. First off, the design doesn't have any touchpads at all. So on the Goggles 3, you could actually maneuver yourself around the menu system. On the N3, you only have this 5-way toggle button, which you can press to enter, and you've got the backup button there. You also have the power button on the side, and that was actually one small missing feature that is present on practically all other DJI devices. The lack of the 4 little LEDs that show the battery level when you do a quick press of the power button, and they flow up and down when you're turning things on or off. As I said, N3 just has a single power button, and that's it. The N3 goggles also do not have a real view feature, which was introduced on the Goggles 3, meaning there is no way to see what's going on around you unless you actually lift up the goggles. Now again, I get why this is missing. Lifting the goggles up to see what's happening is a very minor thing, a minor inconvenience. But adding the cameras and the function to view them, that would come with a fairly hefty price increase. So to me, it made sense to leave that function out of the N3. What I did like though was the augmented reality cursor that pops up each time you pause the drone in flight. This was a really cool way to navigate through the menu options just by moving the motion controller to change the direction of the cursor. But what's really brilliant is that when you squeeze the trigger on the motion controller, that's how you actually select the option on the menu. It really is such a simple but brilliant feature. And it was the solution to a problem that I hit fairly early on in the testing. So, realised my first criticism, and you might think it being a little bit harsh. I'll lock it for the moment. Most people are right-handed, so they're holding the motion controller, and if you want to do anything with the screen, oh look where the controls are. So you can't do with your left hand and control with the right hand. So you're swapping between the two, but it's on a bit of cord. So what can you do? You have to take it off. So just a little niggle, but you know, these things do annoy. The introduction of the AR cursor with full menu navigation and selection means you can keep the motion controller in your right hand and change any settings easily. Again, really, really cool little feature, I thought. What else? Well, yes, all the other usual features are there. You've got head tracking, of course, and you've got the micro SD card slot at the top here for you to record what you're seeing in the goggles, and obviously you can then capture all of the flight telemetry as well. You've got the USB-C cable housing there, which is obviously used for charging, transferring the files, but also you can attach a USB cable to a phone running the DJI Fly app, and that will actually give a secondary output. So if you've got somebody alongside, they can see what you're seeing just with one simple cable to their phone. The battery, as I said, embedded in the strap, it's slightly smaller than the Goggles 3. You still get a good 2.5 hours on a single charge. I think that's down around 20 minutes from what you got with the Goggles 3. I mentioned the defogger, which is a very cool little feature, literally. And of course, you still get the full easy acro function. So you can have good fun playing around with these features if you're new to FPV flying or just good at making basic mistakes like me, flying backwards fast with absolutely no way of seeing where you're going. Look, there were many people that wrote off the Neo when it was first released because the camera wasn't as good as some of the other drones that cost almost £1,000. And yet the Neo is still a great drone, good fun, and it does provide video that is more than good enough for most people. And crucially, it came in at a price that really let loads more people get into FPV flying. And that's why it's ended up being so popular. Now, my take on these is exactly the same. These are really decent goggles, and in fact, for the price, I think they're actually incredible goggles. They're comfortable to wear, and crucially, they give a bright, clear display with all the main functions found on FPV goggles that are way more expensive. So that's my take. To me, a great addition to a really cool little drone, but crucially one that will also work with the Avata 2, which you can also buy individually as a standalone drone and get even faster footage with an even better camera. So it's a pretty good way to get into it. You can get your Fly More combo package, and then if and when you want to get a faster drone, you can buy the Avata 2 individually by itself as well. So really, really great little lineup. Look, hopefully you found this useful, and if you have, as ever, please just give the video a little thumbs up, help the video along. Really though, this time, really do let me know your thoughts. I'm really interested in this one because I'm guessing many of you will be considering these, and especially given the low price. So I'm really interested in what you've got to say, good or bad, about why you will or won't buy these particular goggles. So yep, as ever, let me know below. But look, in the meantime, as ever, until next time, have fun, happy flying.